Hey there, Skullheads. I'm Snags,
And I'm Old Silky.
and we are now officially at 1/3 the number of the beast. It's episode 66, so that's kind of like 666 with one less six, but
Right.
on the way. That's our target. We
Neighbor,
want to do
neighbor of the
666
beast, something like that.
episodes. Yeah, neighbor of the beast. Yeah,
Yeah.
want to. It's the number of the wanna beast.
Right.
So uh go to the website, buy the shit, follow us on fucking YouTube and Spotify. Now I'm handing it over to Ol Silky, and he's gonna lay down some facts. Jack,
Uh, so tonight's episode is on Lynyrd Skynyrd. Um, they started way back in '64. Three friends, Ronnie Van Zant, Alan Collins, and Gary Rosington, who would stay in the band. Larry Jungstrom on bass and Bob Burns on drums. And Bob Burns did about 10 years with him. But
hey
they would
man, I was in Lynyrd Skynyrd. Yeah, that's
yeah,
great, man. Just
yeah,
fucking give me my fries.
give me my fries. Well, Bob Burns did play on the first two albums.
There you go.
But Larry,
Larry's the fry guy for sure.
he's the fry guy for sure.
Yeah.
They grew up in Jacksonville and, caught up in the mid to late 60s music. I would say Skynyrd is really a hodgepodge of all your Southern blues, The Who, and Cream.
It's a little
I
bit
think
of like Free. Apparently, they were big into Free, according to this
oh,
documentary I
well,
watched.
yeah, I would say Paul Rogers was any singer's singer.
Yeah.
He was just flawless. But they would jam endlessly at a rural rehearsal space called the Hell House. Big, Florida heat, and they would just jam in there for hours, perfecting songs that they were trying to, come up with. But then Ricky Medlock gets into the band around 71. He's there, came in to replace Bob Burns, actually. And then Bob Burns came back. And then, so Ricky played guitar instead of drums. But the band itself, they formed in 64 as My Backyard, and then the Noble Five, and also 1%. And that lineup went to Robert E. Lee High School. Pretty Southern based with a name like that. But so in 71, Greg Walker would replace Larry Jungstrom on bass and was soon replaced by Leon Wilkeson. So that's a name you'll recognize.
There's the cat right there, Leon Wilkeson.
So Wilkeson takes up bass. Ricky Medlock moves over to third guitarist, and then Billy Powell would soon join as keyboardist. The story with Billy Powell was they're playing around. He was just a roadie for them. And one night in the Hell House, they're all, loosely jamming and playing. And Billy Powell starts playing the piano. And the whole place, like a needle across the record, they're like, what the? And they're like, you could play like that all this time? And so they're like, dude, you're in the band.
When we saw them in the 90s, Billy and Leon were still alive and
yes,
playing with them. That version of the band, anyway. It's not the real one, but
Billy Powell's amazing. I always liked him. So in 72, Ricky Medlock leaves to go on to form Blackfoot, and that's a whole other
those
story.
early Blackfoot albums are fucking amazing.
Yeah. On the Reservation and Strikes. Strikes
good.
being their biggest, they never topped that one. So during the recording of Pronounced, Leon Wilkerson leaves the band. I did not know this. And then they get Ed King to replace on bass. And then later during these same sessions, Leon Wilkerson returns. Now, the story is that Ronnie Van Zant went over to Leon's house and said, look, Ed's a better guitar player than a bass player, and you got to come back. We got to make this record really good, and you got to come back. So Leon came back.
Came. You know, when they beg you to come back, then you know.
Well,
time to come back.
It's an album about to come out. I wonder what led to him saying,
"There's probably some, you know,
fist fight." Or,
yeah, you know. I just to interrupt you for a second.
Yeah.
I'm watching this documentary on YouTube, and this they're interviewing this journalist who interviewed them back in the day, early 70s. He said it was like walking into Toontown, like, you know, that Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Yeah,
you walk in the door, it's a totally different world. They were like real fucking characters out of some comic book. They had guns tucked in their boots, you know, they're smoking these joints that are like huge fucking joints and doing line after line of cocaine, guzzling whiskey. It's like, and this was a British journalist, you know, so he was basically impersonating him. He's like, "Come here, boy. Come on over and have a seat on my knee wide, and let me tell you like it is." He said he's by after a couple hours, he's fucking done, wasted out of his mind. He's done all trying to get out of the room, and they're like, "Boy, we just got started. Get back up on over here, boy." It's like Foghorn Leghorn. It was hilarious. But and that was before the show.
Yeah.
That was pre-show.
So Ed King takes up third guitar. Bob Burns stays through second helping, but he leaves in January of 75 due to touring fatigue. And then enter Artemis Pyle, 1975. Artemis was their drummer.
Yeah, you ain't mess with Artemis.
A beast. And then Ed King leaves after the release of Nothing Fancy. Now, Ed King was the guitarist for Strawberry Alarm Clock in the 60s. And I think Ed King was more of a California hippie guitar player. Mm-hmm. And he really did bring quite a few things to Second Helping. But I think he was very low key compared to that Southern bravado that the rest of the guys were. I don't think he fit in. At all. And so Ed King leaves. He did come back for the reunion way down the road, but Ed King leaves after the release of Nothing Fancy. In 75, Cassie Gaines had joined as one of the band's touring backup vocalists, the Honkettes, those three hotties that sang on Cry for the Bad Man and all the big songs. But she got her brother, Steve Gaines, to join in 76. And that was really the classic lineup right there.
I think Steve has the honor of one of the only, I think he is the only other person to sing lead vocals on a song on a Skynyrd album, other than
the watered down.
Well, I'm talking. Whenever I say Skynyrd for the purposes of this episode, it ends with the plane crash.
We're talking 64 to 77.
Yeah.
And I did want to plug a really good book, Whiskey Bottles and Brand New Cars, The Fast Life and Sudden Death of Lynyrd Skynyrd by Mark Rabowski.
Is that the one that's written by Ronnie's best friend who was his bodyguard?
I can't say for sure.
All right, hold on. I'm going to look the name of that one up because I read that and that was phenomenal. We'll link both of these in the clip kit.
Mark Rabowski is who wrote Whiskey Bottles and Brand New Cars.
All right. I'm gonna look this book up, but you can keep talking.
Yeah, so that's just a brief rundown of all the different players. In 71, they recorded a full album that would not see the light of day until way it's called Skynyrd's First. I almost want to look that up and see when that came out.
Well, while you're looking that up, so the
Yeah.
book Lynyrd Skynyrd, I'll Never Forget You. It was written by Gene Odom, who was Ronnie Van Zant's childhood friend and bodyguard, up to the point where he survived the plane crash. He was
Right.
on the fucking plane, and it's an
Yeah.
amazing book. It's a great fucking book.
There's a
I listen.
documentary that he does that goes into the crash and it's
Yeah, yeah. Gene
it'll be
Odom, Lynyrd Skynyrd, I'll Never Forget You. I listened to that audio book. You know, I listen to audiobooks when I'm driving to and from work. I listened to that about 2 years ago. It's riveting. Great,
yeah.
great stuff.
So there's two authorized bootlegs of them live, Cardiff, Wales in 75 and then live at Winterland in 76. Those are both just amazing live concerts, and you really get a feel for how they were with that, and then live at Nebworth in 76. And I will talk about that specific show later. But the one I'm talking about is is in the 90s. I'm trying to, okay. Skynyrd's First, the Complete Muscle Shoals album. And that was they took some of it for Skynyrd's First and Last, which came out in 78. But this the Complete Muscle Shoals is a far better aligned grouping of all the songs that they had recorded for that. It was recorded in 71 and 72, so Ricky Medlock's on there. And Ricky sings two songs, White Dove, and so that's the only drawback to your Steve Gaines thing.
Oh, right, yeah. I guess I'm thinking the official catalog, but yeah.
Because this would not have seen the light of day till 97, I believe. But a lot of these songs ended up they did rescue from obscurity to be on albums, but it's a great way to hear kind of what they sounded like with Ricky Medlock. But so they had done that 71, 72, but they, for whatever reason, it just did not get released, and this was their second chance with the Pronounced sessions, and that album comes out in 1973, August 13th. And what's interesting, I don't know if you know this, Snags, on the cover, lightning flashes in the background, and it appears, if you look at it, it appears to go through Ed King's image. And seconds after that photo was taken, Gary leans over and just vomits all over the sidewalk.
Oh, nice. So it was a Reddit video before Reddit.
Yeah, they had been drinking all day and taking different shots, and they're running out of daylight, and the guy's like, "Hey, a storm's coming. Let's go out front and get one. I promise this is it." And so they all line up for that photo, and right as he snaps a picture, lightning comes down, through Ed King's image. I heard that, and I'm like, what? And you go back and you can see it. You look on that Pronounced cover, and you can see lightning, which is pretty cool. But you look at that track list for that first album, I Ain't the One, a great anti-marriage song. Every guy in the world can really get around that. And then growing up in the 70s, Tuesday's Gone would come on the radio. As soon as you heard that, you're like, oh my God, everyone in the car shut the fuck up. There's just a reverence with Skynyrd. Skynyrd and Zeppelin. Certain songs came on and you were like, okay, nobody talk during this song.
See, when I was a kid, and then the next one, Give Me 3 Steps, he's talking about how he was down at the jug cutting the rug.
Yeah.
And I thought that meant fucking, because, you know, you're cutting the rug with your dick.
Instead of dancing. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember I might have had that conversation with you when we were in high school, and you started laughing. You're like, dude, it's dancing.
Yeah, probably. I believe that's one of the first songs he wrote, based on an actual situation.
Yeah, that actually happened. Yeah. Can you imagine somebody being tough enough to scare Ronnie Van Zant?
Yeah.
They must have been hanging out in some dank fucking joints, man.
Well, if you go back and watch Walking Tall, some of those bars, there are some good old boys up in there.
Yeah.
And I would say Van Zant at 16 was probably could handle his own among his own peers, but you know, somebody 10 years older, you know.
Right.
But yeah, Give Me 3 Steps, tremendous hit. Simple Man, everybody can relate to that. Just so that's side one, and holy shit.
I know, it's like, you know? It's just no filler there at all.
No, the lean, just, and then Things Going On to me is a deep cut, and I love that song. And they're looking up at the White House and scratching their head, going, "This ain't right." You know, and then Mississippi Kid's another one, kind of a 20s blues thing. I just love those two songs. And then one of my favorites on this first album is Poison Whiskey. Just a kick-ass tune. And then there were some B-sides, a song called Mr. Banker and Down South Jukin'. And those would not see, you know, being included on this first album till, like, you know, CD reissues way down the road. But Mr. Banker's a great tune. And
Down South Jukin' I've heard of.
Yeah. Oh, you'd love that. You'd recognize it. It was.
It's probably. I mean, if it's on the Spotify version, then I've heard it, because I've got my Skynyrd playlist. I'll once every 6 months I'll crank that.
Well, the new playlist I made for this show, I tacked some of the obscure stuff, but it's basically the 5 Skynyrd albums and some rare shit. Sadly, there's a blues medley that is nowhere. It was released on a collection called 30, celebrating Skynyrd's 30th anniversary, and it's only on that album. And that album is no longer available streaming. So hopefully we can link
got
that.
The YouTube link, right? You sent me that, so I'll put that on the click pit.
Yeah, that way people can hear it if they're so desire to. But yeah, so that's the first album. Came out in 1973. 8 amazing songs. I mean, we didn't discuss Freebird. That would become just their anthem. It really defined a whole group of people.
Them and Queen are basically the two bands who have been able to write an anthem that rivals Stairway to Heaven. I mean, you got Bohemian Rhapsody, Freebird, and Stairway to Heaven. And really, Bohemian Rhapsody is a killer song, but that's almost a level below Freebird and Stairway.
Right. You could almost say We Will Rock You, but that's not.
It's not the same as, it's not an epic. I'm talking about these epic songs, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And you go to any concert, you're going to hear somebody yell out Freebird.
You go to any concert, and somebody's going to yell that.
I mean, I've yelled it at many concerts.
Yeah, I've yelled that at local shows,
Yeah, but these epic songs that become FM radio staples really, and I guess if you're going to be honest about the pecking order, it's probably Stairway to Heaven, Freebird right behind that, Bohemian Rhapsody right behind that, and then there's not much that.
Yeah, I mean,
Those
Kiss is
three are Kiss does never recorded anything close to these songs. I'm
no,
talking about
not to that
these
level, but I mean,
epic
they're
songs that have these different sections and they
yeah.
build
I mean,
up.
people could say
And
rock and roll all night, or
no, I'm talking about these epic songs that got different sections and they build up. They got this slow section and they build up
yeah,
to a frenzy, and they're these just all time classics. It's amazing. They just let's just knock that one out of the park on our first album.
oh yeah,
Get
yeah.
that out of the way. It's
It's
crazy.
I mean other bands, Aerosmith's Dream On, but it's just
Dream
not.
On, yeah, Dream On is the same kind of song. You
Yeah.
get what I'm talking about. Yeah, yeah.
Mhm. Anyway, so 1974, second helping, still got Ed King in the band. Van Zant writes a song in answer to Neil Young's anti-South songs,
God, I
Alabama
love that
and
song. Sweet
Southern
Home
Man.
Alabama. Such a great fucking
Um,
song.
so Van Zant penned Sweet Home Alabama. But in
That
response,
opening riff, that
oh,
opening,
that little shuffle.
it
Yeah.
sends chills up your spine every fucking time. And I can't tell you how many times. And I'm not a I don't have a mullet. I don't drive around blasting Kid Rock or anything. I'm not,
Right.
I just love good music. I can't tell you how many
Exactly.
times I've annoyed my office workers just blasting that song and singing, and not they don't care about the content or of
Right.
the controversy of Neil Young versus, it's just the me blasting another song. But if I'm blasting a song and singing too loud, the odds
That's the
are that
one.
might be it. Yeah, it's such a good song. God
Sadly,
damn.
it's kind of a cliche song uh, in certain, situations in a movie or something. You got
Oh
that.
yeah, yeah.
They're just
Joe Dirt's getting his act together.
yeah.
It's such a good song though. Like I would listen to this over Freebird any day of the week. Freebird is the all-time classic, but for me, this is the best songwriting they've ever
That
knocked out.
song, like you got that opening Ed King shuffle, and then Gary Rossington adds that slide guitar thing,
Mm-hmm.
and Ronnie Van Zant goes, "Turn it up," and you're like,
Turn it up.
"Holy shit!"
Yep, yep.
It just
God damn, yo. That's a good
chills,
song.
chills just talking like this,
And the lyrics too, that just the all they were so they were standing
honest.
up in the and just standing up in the face of some majority opinion that wasn't completely thought through.
Yeah, and they
Southern
weren't Lynyrd
Man,
Skynyrd yet. They were just Lynyrd Skynyrd and
right? And Neil Young's
Neil
"Oh
Young's got
Alabama,"
Alabama and Southern
you've got the
Man,
rest
and
of the union to help you along, Southern Man. Really
yeah,
condescending motherfucking songs,
yeah,
And you and I both grew up down here,
absolutely.
and I've had people from North, try to trash talk me about the Civil War, and I'm like, nobody cares. Nobody cares that the South lost the Civil. It's not something everybody down here is pissed off about,
Yeah,
but there's a perception
yeah,
in the rest of the country, and probably especially back then, that it's just some hellscape wasteland. And
yeah. Even
he's just
in the
standing up and
2000s,
saying,
even in the early 2000s, I'm out in California, and people are like, "God, what's it like in the South?" Like
yeah.
it's right off the
Oh,
set.
dude! In the '90s, when I was working in freelance film, doing freelance film work, and these arrogant fucking crews would come in from New York or LA. They weren't all a lot of nice people too, but hey, man, I wanna try square dancing. Where do I go?
Jesus
Not
Christ.
being sarcastic, like genuine, earnest.
Wow.
I just start cracking up. I don't know, man. You want to see a punk
What the
band? I can
fuck?
tell you where
Yeah.
you can see a
I'll
punk
send you to a
band.
gay bar and you can square dance.
Right.
Jesus
What the
Christ.
fuck, man?
That's hilarious. Well, I
Crazy.
out in San Francisco 2000s, and they're asking me about the South and, could I go down there and just walk around? I'm like, "Yeah, what?" And then I realized that they're,
They think it's square
they
dancing
think
and
it's
Klan rallies
they
and,
still think it's, although not much, you still got people getting shot and shit, but,
oh, yeah, but all
you
over
know
the country, it's not
yeah,
just the
yeah, it's
South.
not
Yeah.
just the South, but,
Anyways,
I
I
used to joke
digress.
with them and say, "Yeah, we've just got indoor plumbing,
Yeah,
recently
right.
in some of the
Uh,
houses."
but
Yeah.
so that is what that song, Ronnie Van Zant is just standing up and saying, enough,
Yeah,
enough.
and
Here's the
he
fucking good shit about,
in live versions, he says there's good people in Alabama too.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Um, but, they got tapped to tour with The Who on their Quadrophenia tour that year, and I think that really kicked the doors open for Lynyrd Skynyrd, touring with The Who and,
That's a
exposed them.
big gig right there.
That is a massive gig. And then, so the track list for Second Helping, they opened the album with Sweet Home Alabama, and then I Need You, one of my favorite songs by them, easily in my top 5 of, Skynyrd. And then Don't Ask Me No Questions, Working for
Man, a
MCA,
woman. Oh, working
that's
for
side 1,
MCA is just fucking badass, man.
and
God
that's
damn.
side 1.
Yeah, and that working for MCA is one of those get in your car, just fly down the
Oh
fucking
my god,
road as fast
yeah.
as possible songs. Just
It's got such a
love the
mean riff
fucking,
to it.
yeah, man.
And so side 2 is Ballad of Curtis Lowe, a phenomenal song. Uh, then Swamp Music, Needle and the Spoon, which I as a kid I would always look on Street Survivors for Needle and the Spoon because to me it was right there with That Smell. I just thought
Oh
it was
yeah,
the same,
similar. Yeah, yeah, similar
but
song.
as a kid, I'm like, where is this song? And then Call Me the Breeze. That they round out the whole album with Call Me. There was just
A cover of a
another,
JJ Cale song, which is fucking
yeah,
awesome. And
but Speed Down the Highway with Call Me the Breeze.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's a rocked up version of a JJ Cale shuffle.
Yeah,
Izzy Stradlin has a good solo version of that song. Although
yeah,
his is he's not covering Skynyrd, he's covering the JJ Cale version, so it's a little more like that, but
right.
good song.
So then one of the CD additions to Second Helping, they've got demos of a song called Was I Right or Wrong? And then Take Your Time. Both of those songs are just very great examples of Ronnie Van Zant's writing style, where Was I Right or Wrong is like a story about a guy who goes off to make it big against his parents' wishes, and then he comes back and they're dead, and
Oh shit.
he's trying to figure out what was I right or wrong, and he says, "Take a listen, Papa," and he plays his awesome guitar thing that's very similar to "Give Me Three Steps," but
I
that
went
song,
I went through this phase in the late 90s, just Leonard Skynyrd obsession. And
yeah,
that's back. You had the CDs, you didn't have the Spotify, but my CD player was just loaded with Skynyrd.
yeah,
And as I was especially cranking One for the Road over and over and over again. Such
that's
an
great,
amazing live album.
yeah,
And the main thing that was just resonating with me at the time was how profound these fucking lyrics are.
yeah,
This man wrote some really deep fucking lyrics, and like a story like you're talking about right there of going off to prove to his parents that he can accomplish something, and he comes back and they're dead. I mean,
yeah.
that's top shelf storytelling,
Yeah. So another song that we mentioned before was Mr. Banker, and that's another song where a guy is going to the bank to say, look, I'm trying to bury my parents and I don't have the money. Can you take this 57 Les Paul guitar and
Yeah.
won't you bury my papa for me? And you're just like, God damn. It resonates the old South where the bank owned everything and you'd have to go hat in hand
Things have
begging.
changed since then.
Yeah. Yeah. But you'd have to go hat in hand and actually talk to Mr. Banker, in a small town. But then, so was I right or wrong? And then Take Your Time is him telling the guy, take your time with the ladies. And, it's just a really good, good song, good message there. Don't be in such a hurry. And it's a, innuendo plus, it's just perfect advice, take your time. But
He was a
yes,
wise cat. He was, in some ways, he was an old man in a young man's,
well, I think it's somebody who respected their parents and grandparents, and he, from that nest of how important family is, and just a pure from the heart guy. He couldn't fake it. But so that's the first two records, 1974, and then Nothing Fancy is their third album, March of 75. This would reach number 9 on the U.S. album charts. So they were charting. All of these albums were gold by 77, and would reach double platinum status down the road. But a gold record and was not easily done, and they just consistently, each album just as good as the last one, if not better.
Yeah. I would say the first two are just masterpieces.
Oh yeah, you're not
this one is probably down a notch. Now down a notch for Skynyrd still means better than 99% of all the other crap that's out there.
Oh, especially in 75. Good God.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, Saturday Night Special's a rocking fucking song. I love the version of One for the Road as well. On the Hunt's a good one. Whiskey Rock-a-Roller. I remember I had a guitar teacher in the 80s, and he was he apparently had partied quite a bit in the 70s, so he was probably late 30s at that time, and had he had a band and tried to make it famous. He probably met Lynyrd Skynyrd. He's one of those kind of guys, and based in Atlanta. And the 80s, he starts going to AA, settle down, open a little guitar shop where he teaches guitar lessons, and just settle down, have this little guitar shop in Buckhead.
Yeah.
I took guitar lessons from him for a few years. I've got a talent ceiling with that kind of stuff, but I learned whatever it is I know from him. And then late 80s, I'm walking through Virginia Highlands, which is a neighborhood here where they have like spring festival or something. So they had live bands, and you can buy your slushie or whatever. Everybody's walking through the streets.
The Dogwood Festival?
One of those, I forget,
Yeah.
And I hear this song. There's a live band just jamming this song. I'm a whiskey rock-a-roller. And I walk up to look at the band, and it's that motherfucker.
Oh, wow.
My former guitar teacher, and he's drunk off his ass singing I'm a whiskey rock-a-roller.
Nice. That's great.
And in between songs, I went over and talked to him a little bit, and his wife was there, and you could tell he was kind of ashamed to see somebody who he knew back when he was on the wagon and had his shit together.
Yeah. Sure.
It was interesting. Yeah.
Well, so you mentioned some of the track list, Saturday Night Special, Cheatin' Woman, Railroad Song, I'm a Country Boy, that's side 1. On the Hunt was a great tune. Am I Losing, Made in the Shade, and Whiskey Rock a Roller. And I almost feel like the title is a response to the songs where they're like, hey, we're not trying to top. This is just our next batch of songs. It's nothing fancy. Take it or leave it.
Well,
And
the thing that happened here is, oh no, this is still Al Cooper. Okay, yeah. So Al Cooper, he's the one who discovered them. He got them signed. He produced the first 3 albums, and he was probably doing drugs with them, screwing the
oh,
same
sure.
groupies. He
Yeah,
was their age, so they looked at him as a peer. And
sure,
so the first 3 albums, while they say they're produced by Al Cooper, it's really produced by Al Cooper and Lynyrd Skynyrd, because
sure.
if they didn't want to do something he suggested, it wasn't going to happen, and he would accept that. So things
Right.
are going to change a little bit when Tom Dowd takes over, and we'll talk about that when we get
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
Tom Dowd was amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just felt like nothing fancy. So if you look at Led Zeppelin's Presence album, there's some notable songs on there, but it's more it's kind of fallen through the cracks with the other albums on either side of it. And that's how I feel Nothing Fancy was. Because Give Me Back My Bullets is uh I'd say almost a continuation of Second Helping. Um, and Tom Dowd, the working title for Gimme Back My Bullets was Ain't No Doubt About It.
Oh, really? That's
Yeah, which
funny.
was humorous. Um, that came out in February of 76. And that was number 20. So they're in the
Yeah.
top,
So
you
this
know,
is where Tom Dowd comes in. Let's just look at some of
yeah,
his credits. Hold on a second.
yeah, rattle off some Tom Dowd stuff.
Hold on. I'm firing up the wiki. So, um, he was a recording engineer with Ray Charles, the Drifters, the Coasters, Bobby
Yeah, I didn't
Darin, uh, John Coltrane, Ornette
know.
Coleman, all the fucking bad motherfuckers.
I didn't
Thelonious
know he
Monk,
did a jazz thing.
Charlie Parker. Let me read those 4 names again,
Yeah, let's go
just to
back.
fucking fry your brain one more time. John Coltrane, Ornette Coleman, Thelonious Monk, and Charlie Parker. I mean, you could have
Jesus
just been a
Christ.
recording engineer for those 4 and called it a day, man. But no, he
Good.
goes on. Eric Clapton, Derek and the Dominoes,
Yeah.
Hail Dwayne,
Hail
um,
Jane.
fucking Black Oak, Arkansas, which is Black Oak, Arkansas is kind of the joke Southern rock band in a way, but man, some of their shit's pretty damn fucking
I
good.
love me some BOA, boy.
Yeah, yeah. So
Hot,
this guy
hot rod.
worked with everybody,
Yeah.
and Al, as opposed to Al Cooper, who's just kind of their buddy. So when he suggested shit, they just fucking did it. They weren't, this was not produced by Tom Dowd and Lynyrd Skynyrd. This was produced by Tom Dowd.
And I think that's why Gimme Back My Bullets really overshadows Nothing Fancy. Um, although Nothing Fancy reached number 9, but that's riding on the popularity of Second Helping. And so Give Me Back My Bullets track list. You got Give Me Back My Bullets, Every Mother's Son, Trust, I Got the Same Old Blues, and that's side 1. Then you got Double Trouble. Now, what's funny is in the song Double Trouble.
Oh shit! I wonder if that's where that's where Stevie's got the name from.
No, there's an old blues song about Double
Uh,
Trouble,
all right.
and I would say Stevie took it from that. But
No, I would
Double
bet you so.
Trouble in this his Ronnie Van Zant, he says 11 times I've been busted, and during the recording, they got in some scuffle and got rounded up, and they're in jail, and Ronnie's like, we got to change it to 12 times, and Tom Dowd's like, shut up, so it says 11 times I've been busted, but it was really 12 by the
It's up to
time
12 by the time it got released, and
Yeah.
fucking 20 more by the time the tour was
Right.
over.
76. Then Roll Gypsy Roll, Searching, and
Searching
Cry
is a
for the Bad
great
Man.
fucking song,
Oh,
man.
yeah. And Cry for the Bad Man. That's really the standout Honkettes backing vocal track on that.
Searching's some profound lyrics and just rocking.
Yeah.
Lay down some deep lyrics over some rocking chords.
And then they wrap it up with All I Can Do Is Write About It, which is really that's Ronnie Van Zant. He can just write about it
Yeah.
and channel those emotions out. But that's Give Me Back My Bullets, and just a kick-ass album. I believe on the album cover, if you look at it down in the dirt, somebody has written CDB in the dirt, which stood for Charlie Daniels Band.
Oh, there you go.
And they were touring and just rubbing elbows with all their favorite people.
So I had a friend who died, unfortunately. You remember Jim?
Jim Okel, yeah.
Yeah. We're naming names.
Great
Okay.
story.
Yeah.
I love the flip-flop story, though.
Oh, yeah. I've told that story many times.
Yeah,
He's the hippie that got caught in the mosh pit at the Bad Brain show. But on the Skynyrd side of things, this cat saw he was at the concert where they recorded One for the Road. Like,
no
he's one of the
way.
Oh yeah, way. He was one of the people in the audience at the Fox Theater yelling on that album.
That's tremendous.
And he said they had like 10th row, they camped out all night and
Oh,
shit. And Skynyrd was their band, him
yeah,
and his buddies, because they grew up in the South. Skynyrd was always in Atlanta. They're
yeah.
not from Atlanta, but they were always here. And basically, he said that when this album came out, because they were all hip to the depth of the lyrics. That's just part of the appeal of Ronnie Van Zant's songwriting. He said when
Sure.
this album came out, they kind of thought, they were like, give me back my bullets. After all this profound songwriting, this search and fucking Sweet Home Alabama, Simple Man, Tuesday's Gone.
Right.
And they're, give me back my bullets. What's going on here? But I love that song. That's that's one of my. It's one of the most rocking, just balls out rocking tunes.
It's a metaphor for taking back control. Give me back my manhood, my stance, my
Well, you jizz all over some chick's face and you want it back. I need that jizz. That's vital energy. Give me back my bullets.
So one more, Four from the Road, came out September 13th of 76. And one thing I wanted, so they're touring, they've got all these interviewers coming and going and stuff. And one of the funnier bits in one of those documentaries is Ronnie, when he was sober, was the nicest guy you'd want to meet. But as he drank, he would get meaner and meaner.
Isn't there some story you told me about where some journalist is interviewing?
Yeah, that's what I'm about to. So,
okay, I'm sorry.
So this interviewer, this journalist, just keeps asking him stuff, and people are hanging out and having drinks and stuff. And Ronnie's like, "Here's the question: how are you getting out of this room in one piece?" And as he stands up and he's rolling his sleeves up to
he got tired of old pencil neck's questions, huh?
This guy's like, "Holy shit!" I think that is fucking hysterical. Provided it's not me,
Yeah, right. As long as you're hearing the story about somebody else.
Yeah.
Let it be about somebody else.
But I just found that really funny. How you getting out of this room? And he would just wrestle these fools to, shake them up a little bit, But kind of like the Marx Brothers, the guy goes in and before he gets out of the room, his shirt's torn, his pants are destroyed,
Yeah.
just phenomenal.
Yeah.
But so that show, it did 3 shows in July of 76 in Atlanta to save the historic Fox Theater that was being scheduled for demolition.
Yeah, they're gonna demo the Fox Theater, build some generic office buildings there,
Oh my
probably.
God.
Can you imagine if that happened?
I can't
So,
because I've enjoyed so many shows there,
yeah,
and
man.
you
I've seen
have
a
to
lot of shit there, yeah.
just crazy to think that um, but specific to that show that had not been on any of the albums, they do a kick-ass T for Texas, Blue Yodel #1, a Jimmy Rogers tune. Give me a T for Texas. That's
Give me a
just
T for Tennessee.
ripping in there. And then their version of Crossroads is fucking epic.
I'm telling you, man, that's one of the best live albums ever recorded.
Just for Crossroads. And then obviously the 11 and a half minute Freebird on there is, you heard that all through the 70s on the radio. But yeah, that live out, one more, and then the 4 is crossed out, so it's one more from the road. Double album, just ridiculous, so good. And the CD reissues, they've since realigned the songs in the original order that they were performed in, and disc 2 has some songs from other nights, because it was 3 shows. So I'm sure down the road somebody's going to do like the Live at the Fillmore with the Allman Brothers and put out all 3 shows, and then I'll have to buy that.
Yeah.
But they have yet to do.
Somebody could put it out with a different cover, and you'd have to buy it.
Yeah. They've yet to do that. So as long as they don't, I don't have.
This is a brand new cover where his shoes have been changed.
Yeah. Well, he always played barefoot,
black instead of brown.
He always played barefoot on the carpet.
Generic example here.
But
anyways, keep going.
So now, Street Survivors, 77. This is heavy here. This album came out October 17th of 77. 3 days after the album's release, October 20th, a chartered plane crashed en route to Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Both pilot, co-pilot, the group's assistant road manager, Ronnie Van Zant, Steve Gaines, and Cassie Gaines would all perish in that crash, sending them into just immortal status. You think about, I'm just going to run down some names here. February 3rd of 59, Buddy Holly, Big Bopper, and Richie Valens die in a plane crash. March 5th of 63, Patsy Cline dies in a plane crash. December 10th of 67, Otis Redding dies in a plane crash. Jim Croce, September 20th, 1973, dies in a plane crash. Stevie Ray Vaughan, August 27th, 1990, dies in a helicopter crash. All taking off in really shitty weather. The thing with Skynyrd, though, Aerosmith had that plane.
Aerosmith had the plane?
Aerosmith had that plane, and they were like, this plane is bullshit. Get it the fuck out of here. And they wanted nothing to do with it. Either I think Aerosmith was looking at that plane, and somebody on Aerosmith's thing was like, you can't pay me enough to fly this piece of shit.
Right.
And so Aerosmith may have got that plane, and they dodged a severe bullet.
And thank goodness, because we would have never had Love in an Elevator.
Had Angel and
all the good Aerosmith.
Yeah, the dude looks like a fucking sellout.
Yeah. Dude looks like a
But
sellout. That's great. Dude sounds
so,
like a sellout. Boo-doop, boo-doop.
so Street Survivors track listing. What's your name? That smell. One more time. I know a little. That's side one, and those 4 songs right there. Fuck. Uh, then you flip it over, and you got that right. Steve Gaines sings on that. I Never Dreamed, a phenomenal song. Honky Tonk Nighttime Man. Really a trilogy if you look at like Whiskey Rock a Roller, Give Me 3 Steps, Honky Tonk Nighttime Man, just all those bar brawling, drinking, and then Ain't No Good Life, another Steve Gaines track. And that was Street Survivors.
Yeah.
It's been reissued now where they tack on some live stuff and whatnot.
You
Some
got that
alternate
right. Is almost
demos.
somewhat anticipating that late 70s new wave punk sound a little bit. It's
It
different
has a
to me.
different sound. It
Yeah.
always I
It's
I
not
don't
the
I don't
Skynyrd.
feel like it doesn't belong on the album, but every time that comes on,
It's
it's like
it's a
it's a
catchy radio hit. I mean, I could almost not quite, but almost see Elvis Costello on his first album just coming up with something like that, you
and
know?
Billy Powell's got a real shuffle piano on
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Really good. But yeah, I just those names all dying in plane crashes. It's crazy how it continued to happen. Thank God it's not so much anymore. But I think a lot of bands are either seeking professional pilots and not a member of the band,
I'm sure standards,
swinging
air
back.
safety standards go up. As long as they don't fly on a Boeing these days, you're pretty much going to be fine. Just stay off the
But
Boeing.
I'm saying, like, I think
Yeah.
back in the day, they just have, you know, Joe Blow who's blown out on whatever,
Right.
ride the plane for a while. Randy Rhoads died in a plane crash. I mean, it's just
Red Hot Chili Peppers died in a plane crash right after
yeah,
Mother's Milk.
horrible. They died
Yeah.
under the bridge.
Yeah. But right
Uh,
after Mother's Milk, they all just died in a tragic plane crash. I thought Van Halen had died in a plane crash in '85, but they
right.
reappeared briefly.
They found
Yeah.
Dave. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so that's Skynyrd. I did want to touch the '87 reunion. We ran a list at a local Turtles, and which was a whole huge experience, just camping out middle of summer to get these tickets and running a list where people signed the list and got to leave, and you basically staked out the record store to make sure nobody else was, getting in the way. And there was an honor system. People, hey, you got to get on the list, and you took that. You followed that custom, if you will. And now I think you could just, I think if you'd have casualties, people doing bad shit, and we were totally fine camping out there, meeting people,
That
getting
was a
drunk.
ritual. That was a ritual in your teenage years as you
Oh, it was beautiful.
camping out
And
for tickets. And you
yeah,
camp out for tickets, you get a 10th row at Iron Maiden for
yeah,
$15,
right. Yeah,
because you
holy
camped
shit.
out. Yeah.
We had second row for that at the Omni. Charlie Daniels came out. Lacey Van Zant came out and introduced them. It was a real family affair. And I mean, that might have been the first show
Sounds like it probably was. Yeah.
with but Charlie Daniels. And then when it came time to do Freebird, they put Ronnie Van Zant's hat on the microphone stand, and they all played the song, but no one sang. And
Just did the instrumental version. Yeah.
it was really heavy.
I bet. Yeah.
But what I wanted to mention about that show in '87, I was 16. We get there, and the lights go down, and they open with like swamp music or Poison Whiskey or something. And I remember this guy behind us, this huge, massive dude, passes out as soon as the show starts.
Nice.
Just falls ass over tea kettle, laid out on the floor. And we're like, holy shit. And his friends just, oh, we're watching the show. So, you go back to watching the show. And all the way at the very end of the show, lights come up, the show's over. You're like, whoa, that was amazing. You turn around and this guy's still laying there. And
You
they're trying
slept
to,
through the whole show?
miss the
That's
entire show.
hilarious.
You know,
A little too much pre-show partying for that cat.
pre-show, yeah. And then the only other thing I wanted to mention, working at Tower Records, an album came out called Skynyrd's Friends, which was a bunch of country people doing Skynyrd songs. I don't remember being too impressed with what was on that, but they had a record party, a release party for that CD at a local pool hall in Atlanta, and Gary Rosington was going to be there. And while he was there, they were going to raffle off the Lynyrd Skynyrd box set. So this would have been.
Is this the pool playing story with Gary Rosen? You've told it before, but tell it again, and then I'll tell my Artemis Pyle story.
Yeah, you have to.
Yeah.
So we go there, and people are there. It's real loose. The thing has not started yet. And Gary's sitting at a table with some, friends of his. They had arrived with him, and I walk over, and I had him sign like my copy of Second Helping, if I remember correctly. But I said, "Hey, do you want to play some pool?" And some of his friends get this disgusted look, like, "Oh my!" And Gary's like, "Yeah, sure, kid." And we go over, and he lets me break. And I will say, a stop clock is right twice a day. I just happened to sink a ball on the break, and I ran the table, and then I scratch on the 8-ball.
Of course.
All the way, no, I missed. I'm sorry. I didn't scratch. I didn't scratch. I miss my 8-ball shot.
Right.
Now it's his turn. And he proceeds to run the table. I have played the greatest game of pool in my life. I've never, ever done that, run the table down to the last ball.
Right.
Ever. The best I've done, maybe 3 or 4 in a row or something. But this was all 7 balls except for the 8-ball. And you're just like, son of a... And he's like, "You almost got me, kid." And then he chalks up his stick and then proceeds to just run the fucking table. And I'm like, son of a bitch.
That's hilarious.
But he was so great, just a gracious guy. And these artists who they died tragically before their time. Gary Rosington was just like his feet didn't touch the ground. You were in awe. It'd like be playing pool with Tony Iommi or something. It's like, holy fuck. So that's my Gary Rosington story.
So I'm in high school. I'm in a band. I'm playing bass in this band. We never got out of the garage. It's like 4 of us, 2 guitar players, a drummer, and me. And one of them knows somebody up at Southern Tracks, that's a local studio here that
cool.
Yeah. And so one of them knows the guy who's on duty at Southern Tracks. So we go up there and introduce ourselves, and he lets us in, and we were going to get a little tour of the facilities. But the first thing the guy does is he's introducing us, and "Hey man, good to see you," to his friend. I think it was one of our guitar players, and he introduced us, and he goes, "Hey man, I got something special for you cats today. Look who's here. It's Artemis Pyle." And we're like, holy shit. And he's sitting on the couch, and he gets up and walks over and shakes our hand. We're like, hey man, it's an honor to meet you. This is wild. Really cool to meet you. We're looking forward to checking out the studio here. And our dumbass drummer says, and I guess because it's like the thing you think of when you meet Lynyrd, when you think of Lynyrd Skynyrd. I can't believe he said this, but he goes, "Hey man, can I ask you what was it like when the plane crashed?"
Jesus.
And Artemis's face just goes ashen, like he's
Yeah,
horrified just even having to think about it. And this is 83, so it's 6 years.
yeah, 5,
It's
6 years.
it's not
And
like
Artemis
3 decades
actually
later,
Artemis ran like 2 miles,
with his ribs
his ribs
sticking out.
poking out,
Yeah, yeah.
blood
Got
everywhere,
shot by a farmer who thought he was
trying to save.
trespassing.
That's the last guy.
Yeah, I know. And
Fuck.
and there's just dead silence in the room. And the guy that
Mm,
had invited us over goes, maybe it's best if y'all leave.
wow.
Turn
Yeah, that
around
sucks.
and go back out in the parking
Uh,
lot. And we're just like, you dumbass
oh my
motherfucker.
god. Yeah, I'd have been like, you're
Hilarious.
out of the band, man. Holy shit. You tell this story, and I don't know for sure, but I really feel like somebody asked Gary Rossington if
What was
he
it
was
like
on
when
the no, if he was on the plane. And because the way I remember him going, yeah, I was on the plane. Like, why would you ask me that?
Yeah, yeah. I wouldn't be
But
surprised. There's some stupid
it just
people out
seems
there.
like
Yeah,
at that thing, some moron asked him that bonehead
probably.
question.
Yeah.
But no, my parting shot here. I started on the note here. Like any artist who dies tragically before their time, Jim Morrison, Janis Joplin, Jimi Hendrix, even Robert Johnson, and on and on and on. But they seem to become shrouded in mystery, almost revered or worshipped by their fans. Um, all kinds of
I remember the switch in status.
conspiracies and stuff.
Y- Stevie Ray Vaughan was an admired guitar player, but after he died, I remember just noticing the change in status,
Mhm.
icon.
Yeah,
And deservedly so.
and he
But
had 5 albums. It's so crazy, these
yeah,
bands, 4 or 5, 6 years, and they're fucking gone. Um, it's almost like, Satan doesn't realize that somebody's come back and starting to, and oh, wait a minute, and it takes them from us.
yeah,
Uh,
after all these years fucking around in the clubs, Randy finally makes it. Let's just smash him into a little house here
yeah,
with this
yeah, uh,
plane.
you know, but it's impossible to know
Did
what
I
heights
mention Barry Manilow is still alive?
is still alive. It's impossible to know what heights they may have reached. I think the attitude of the '80s would not have been the same had Skynyrd been around. Um, it's really hard to say what may have occurred, um,
Hmm.
because go back and look at Street Survivors. It's like 8 solid, just massive song. They were on their way. I think they were
What
2 or 3 albums away from their exile on Main Street. I think they
whatever was going on, you know, Ronnie would have been commenting on it. It's interesting though because like you had some really good bands that were really good in the 70s and the 80s come along. The 80s was like a
oh,
virus that just
they
fucking
pulled the blanket
zombie
out from
plague
under. Yeah,
that
they
it turned
ripped the blanket out from under the
even
candles.
even the Allman Brothers had a keytar player, some guy with a stand-up
Uh, yeah,
synthesizer strapped on like a
watered
uh,
down bullshit.
guitar. Yeah, so a lot of people got infected with the 80s
Well,
zombie,
and
you know.
yeah, and one thing, every
So you would
single
hope
major
Skinner
band,
wouldn't do that,
every
but
every major top tier band in the '70s was completely gone by 80, 81, 82. Everyone, Zeppelin, Aerosmith,
Well, the Stones
the
stuck
Allman
around.
Brothers, the Stones, but the Stones are the Stones. I mean,
Yeah, they'll be around forever. They'll be around until, you know, Keith
even
Keith and
even
Keith
their
and Mick will
last,
be in their grave, and they'll find a way to reanimate them.
even the Stones' last 5 albums have some pretty fucking good songs. You're like, God
Yeah,
damn, how do they keep
yeah,
doing this?
yeah.
But it is, you look at every band, even other genres, Sly and the Family Stone, all these bands that were massive in the 70s, just 80, 81, 82, it like changed.
Yeah.
Look at the Commodores have some slamming songs. And
That's what
then
I always think of is the
and then
Commodores and their
here's
discography.
Lionel Richie with these just, hello,
Yeah.
it's me. What the
The
fuck?
80s was it was watered down shit for
Yeah.
you had to
So
go underground for the good shit. Then,
yeah. So
suddenly
it's
the
just
thrash scene and the SST scene and the punk
right.
scene in DC comes up and there was
It's
good
hard.
shit. I just had to look for it,
It's hard to know if Skynyrd would have maybe gone that route and put out some just real watered down horse shit, or if Ronnie would have towed the line and really kept everybody because music really looks to see whoever's at the forefront, everyone copies. So
Yeah, yeah.
Skynyrd may very
I
well
can't
have
imagine
continued
Skinner trying to sound like
passion.
the Cars, but you never
Right.
know.
Well,
Yeah.
but I do know, per that the Bodyguards documentary that you read the book about, you might remember this. He was saying that Ronnie was really circling the wagons on the financials. He was giving up the hard drinking and drugging because he was like, look, we're not there. There's no money.
Oh, Pencil Neck's taking it away.
They were 5 albums in, just like Sabbath and all these other ones.
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
sure
yeah.
it was, hey, I need a house. Yeah, here, buddy. Here's a house.
Here's
Here's
a
a car.
house. I'll keep the profits,
Yeah,
but
I got.
you can have a
Oh,
house.
real busy. What do you need?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so I think he was really about to clean house and really come back strong. 78, 79. But that didn't happen. And then with them going away, just like Buddy Holly going away in 59, Elvis had no competition. So Skynyrd goes away, and all these other bands, late 70s, all the punk and all that, there was no competition.
Yep, yep.
So, but
So there you have it. That's Lynyrd
that's
Skynyrd.
that's Skynyrd, kids. I'm drinking whiskey tonight.
There you go.
And I think we covered a good, solid set here with that.
Yeah. All right, people. Peace out. Keep it real.
Enjoy the set, the playlist.
Yeah, we got a playlist. Check out those books we're gonna link on the Click Pit, and keep it real. We got more shit coming.
Deuces.